This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at thebatmanuniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Scarecrows frightened of the clouds, laughing boys. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine and signal, come out to play. I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Bring it on, Batman. Jump out your cave, 'cause I am a Batman. I am a Batman. Shine that signal, come out and play. I am a Batman. I am a Batman.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 245 of Dublin Dane. My name is Tim, and joining me, as always, is Dublin Dane himself. Dane, how's it going?
It's going good. It's been a while since we've recorded, but yeah, it's been going good. How about you, Tim?
It's going good right now. I mean, we're smacked in the middle of, well, I shouldn't say in the middle. We're right. It's postseason baseball just started as we're recording this episode. We're in the new wild card format, best 2 out of 3. But I don't know, Dane, it's hard to be excited about anything else in baseball right now other than Aaron Judge breaking the single season home run record. Yes, I said single season home run record, not the AL record, all of baseball. So 62, he did it this week. And everyone's going to have their opinion on it, but if you're asking me, and I know plenty of other baseball fans, he is the new single season home run record in all of baseball because of everything that, you know, went on with Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa when they did it. So I was glad that he was kind of able to restore some honor in that record now, and to have it be someone break Roger Maris's record, who was clean and not have anything associated with steroids. So I was really pulling for him to do it over these last 2 weeks. It got kind of dicey towards the end because he was going to a lot of at-bats without hitting a home run. I think the pressure was starting to get to him a little bit once he hit 60, but he got it done on the second to last game of the season. So it was exciting. It was a lot of fun to watch over the course of this, pretty much this whole month as he was chasing it. So that was the highlight of this week for me.
There was a baseball season this year? I didn't know that, Tim. I wish I was informed of it.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't check Oakland's record then if you weren't informed of this baseball season.
Yeah, it was a little sad. I must have only watched I don't know, like 15 games this year. So
the first 15 games where they were kind of okay.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Or the 15 games throughout the season that they didn't look like. It was just one of those seasons, you know, Tim, where you're constantly reminded. And I know as a Yankees fan, you don't really understand this, but and I hate to quote Moneyball, but you know, there's rich teams and there's poor teams, and then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's the Athletics.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty this year for them. I mean, I'm not sure if they end up with the worst record in baseball.
I believe so.
They did.
I believe so. Yeah. Unfortunately. So.
Hey, that means you get a top draft pick though. So there's that.
Yeah, to get traded away. You know, for a 26-year-old AA baseball player. Yeah. So yeah, for me, yeah, it's I'd like to forget this season. I'm sorry, Tim. I know it's still going on. I know this is. I mean, what's game 1 of the World Series, like October 30th?
Yeah, it's like either the
Um,
very end of October or early November. That's definitely going to
yeah,
go into
wow,
November. Yeah.
wow. So yeah, forgettable season for me. For some
There's that
reason.
old saying, there's always next year.
Yeah, yeah,
But
but it's everything with the stadium, the new stadium, the Oakland Coliseum, management, the ownership, the players, trading away every single good thing that the team had. Um, player wise, this past season or before the season started. So yeah,
one of
it's
these
always
years,
next
Danes,
year, I guess.
one of these years, we're going to come on the podcast and we're going to talk about how Oakland finally got a new stadium. I think we've been talking about that for the last. I know we've been doing this podcast for 10 years now. For probably what 7 of those 10 years, we've been waiting and
Yeah.
hoping that would be a topic you can come on and just be super excited about.
So maybe in 2047, let's say.
Mark your
You think we
calendar.
can last? You think we can last, Tim? Do you think we can last 25 years?
Well, I'll
I
say
don't
this: I
know.
have more confidence in us still podcasting than Oakland getting a new stadium by then.
Oh, that's sad.
It is. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dave.
Meanwhile, if you're a Braves fan, you get a new stadium every 3 years or
Right.
whatever.
That's what it feels like. Yep.
But yeah, forgettable for me, unfortunately. But I hope the Yankees win it all. I hope the Mariners win it all.
Yeah, I'm pulling for
Conflicted.
the Mariners too. Yeah, until
Yeah,
unless they face the Yankees, so that's a different story. But
yeah,
until then, hopefully they make it pretty far.
yeah. I am pulling for those two teams, especially the Mariners. The playoff drought. Um, so yeah, I'm
Finally over.
excited for that. Yeah.
21 years it took them to make the postseason. That's insane to think about. So now it's the Angels who have the longest baseball drought or playoff drought in baseball.
Is it the Angels?
Yep, they just took over
Uh,
because it was the Mariners and the Phillies, but they both made the postseason this year. So
oh,
now
I
it's the
see.
Angels.
I see. And when was the last time the Phillies made it? When they won the World
2000,
Series, right?
no, 2011 they were in the postseason.
Oh, oh, I see. Hmm. Well, uh, congratulations to the Mariners. That's all I can say.
And let's just hope the Astros get knocked out in the first round. See, that's my other hope this postseason.
Yeah. I don't know how
I
they had. Yeah.
I do not want
What?
to see the Astros in the World Series again. Nope.
What if they beat
That-
the Yankees?
I don't know if I could stomach that again. It would be the 4th time since 2015 that's happened.
Well, at least you made it to the playoffs then.
Yeah, that's true. I got to count my blessings or I can in baseball. Which sounds so arrogant coming from a Yankee fan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, favorite time of the year is postseason baseball. So, and now we're here. So, looking forward to that. And it's been fun already as the season wrapped up this week. But as always, we got to kick off our episode, continuing our minute by minute commentary with The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And a lot more Lord of the Rings talk is coming in this episode after we do this commentary, that's for sure. But as always, grab your VHS copy, your DVD copy, your Betamax copy, Laserdisc, your I think I'm forgetting another disc, but the UMD, the little one for your PSP, your Blockbuster membership video subscription, your Netflix physical media copy in the red envelope, your DVHS copy, and as always, your converted VHS to DVD copy, which is what we always use when we're watching these commentaries or doing these commentaries. So if you got your converted copy all set up, Dane, I'll give the countdown as we go from minute 33 to minute 34. Are you ready?
You forgot one thing, Tim. So for the DVHS, I mean the DVHS, you can't just put that in a regular VHS player, right? So you need a separate VHS player for the
That's it.
DVHS.
Is it called a DVCR?
I have no idea.
It would make sense if it was.
Yeah, it would. But yeah, so you need a separate one for your DVHS.
I still
I
wonder
don't.
why it was just called DVHS and not HDVHS. Why is it just a D?
Maybe it's because it's like a digital conversion.
Maybe that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. The have. What do you think is going to be the next like? You know how we have like multi-platform releases of films and stuff. Like Blu-ray and DVD were at the same time. DVD and VHS were at the same time. What do you think the new thing is going to be? Like, let's say, streaming versus like.
Would you count 4K releases? Or probably coming soon 8K releases? Because that's probably the next physical format anyway. Is going to be 8K.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 8K versus streaming or whatever.
Yeah. Just to give another name for streaming than 8K or something like that.
Yeah. And I still can't tell the difference. But anyway, let's get our. Yes, I'm ready. Tim. I'm ready.
Okay.
This.
I'll give the countdown. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, play. Start with a nice shot of Gondor right there.
Is that Minas Tirith?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Minas
Didn't
Tirith
realize...
is the name of the city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't realize at the time watching it for the first time how important this location was, where Gandalf actually was doing all this research.
Yeah, don't have candles around loose, dry pieces of paper, you know.
Oh man, if Gandalf accidentally puts the paper
God,
like
it's be 1,000-degree fire.
All that Middle Earth history gone. Well, hopefully with Gandalf's powers, he can put it out real fast or
it's a sealed door.
Bring it back.
It's a sealed door, yeah.
Yes, as Gandalf is reading Isildur's writings right here. And I believe in the books, this is where Gandalf spends almost 20 years digging through all this stuff before he goes back to the Shire.
Imagine doing this for 20 years, Tim.
Well, you see all those books and maps and scrolls in there. It's going to take a while. But I guess wizards can't speed read.
Why can't they? I mean, seriously. I mean, you can do like you can fight with invisible forces. Then I don't understand why you can't read fast.
It's just an untapped ability they haven't reached into yet.
So.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's our minute for this episode for the Fellowship of the Ring. It can't think of a better transition from talking Fellowship of the Ring until recapping our thoughts on the last few episodes of the Rings of Power. And pretty much this episode is going to be just more TV catch up, because I don't know about you, Dave, but that's kind of where all my entertainment source is coming from this last month or so. There's just so much great TV content going on right now, and it's just
yes, there has
awesome to be consuming it over these last few weeks. So yeah, so first up, let's talk some Rings of Power, where these last 2 episodes, well, I'll say 3, but I think when we last recorded, we were on episode 4. It was like episode 3 or 4, but and I was still saying we were kind of giving our reactions to it. How it's still been a slow burn for me. I'm enjoying it, but I think it needs to sharpen its focus on certain storylines. And these last few episodes, man, have they done that and more some. I've really, really enjoyed it, especially the last episode 7 or episode 6, because we're on episode 7 this past week as we're recording this episode. So episode 6 was just the highlight of the season and of the series so far. It was like it reached the potential of what I felt a Lord of the Rings TV show could be, and just how awesome a Lord of the Rings TV show could be. And I think the episode before that was the first one where I felt all the storylines that were going on, I was really getting into, and I was really getting invested in the characters and what they were going with. Even stuff going on with the Harfoot storyline and the Stranger, that's even improved a lot for me. So, but in the last 2, I just felt things are coming together more. That's the story's getting more central and focused on, where it's not jumping from 4 different storylines. Characters are converging together, and it's feeling more cohesive. And I've just been absolutely loving it, especially these last 2 that we've gotten. So yeah, we'll dive into more, especially in the episodes 6. But I've been loving the series. I think it's finally hit its stride, and I cannot wait to see how it all wraps up on the season finale next week.
Yeah, it's weird because I kind of have like the opposite feeling of you, Tim. Where
Wow.
I like these separate storylines, right? Like the Numenorians are doing with Galadriel. The Harfoot's storyline, and the storyline with the humans from the south, and what's going on in Khazad Dûm. I like the sort of separate storylines that are happening at the same time and telling this larger story, rather than, okay, so like we got to get the Numenorians to the humans in the south, the men in the south, right? So okay, so like they participate in this huge battle, and then Mordor happens, right? And the Queen Regent is blinded. I actually liked it more in the beginning of the season, where it was all separated. And, everybody had their own individual story. But like you said, I've grown to like how like they integrated most of the storylines. We're still separate with the Khazad Dûm stuff, and we're still separate. Harfoot's storyline, but like the main focus for me, and like the part I like right now is the story with the humans, or the men in the south, and the Numenorians, and how quickly things changed for them with the creation of Mordor, and how quickly I forget Isildur's dad's name.
Elendil.
Elendil, switches his tone when it comes to Galadriel. Like, it was just immediate. I mean, his queen got blinded, so yeah,
and he believes his son is dead, so it's like,
right. Yeah, you can see where that comes from.
Yeah. No, yeah. So those episode 6, it was kind of being, before I saw it, was kind of being hyped up as I've seen reviews and reactions. I didn't see it till Friday night, but I know the episode releases like 9 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast. But I still like to wait till Fridays to watch it. But just had a lot of buzz going into it, and hearing that it was going to be like the first episode to feature some major action, and which it delivered on. And it was cool too, because it wasn't like this big scale battle that we see like Helm's Deep or the Battle of Pelennor Fields. It was still a small scale, as the village in the south was getting attacked by orcs, and how it was still, even though it was a small scale battle, it was still a lot of cool action in that. And the show just knocked out of the park visually, just having just really high quality visuals and stunt performances and sets. Everything, it does feel movie quality. Like, I haven't once, as I was watching, felt, oh, you could tell this is on a TV budget. And I was curious if that would be the case when it comes to the action sequences, and it definitely didn't. Like I said, still small scale, so they haven't gone full blown big massive battles, like even like we've seen in Game of Thrones. But I think maybe in future seasons we'll get to that. But for its first major action sequence, I thought it was really well done, and just it had a lot of tension to it. As you know, the villagers were outnumbered, and the orcs were just coming down on them, and you're wondering how they're going to get through it. And you see them, how they fought back made sense. And then even like from the orc side, how they were devising their plan to attack, where those men from the south, those who sided with them, because it pretty much split in half, where some stayed and some went to join the orcs there, and how they used them to fight their own in that battle. They didn't realize it, and when they caught them off guard, that's when they sprung their main attack and their main forces there. So it all just, and then you think they're outnumbered, they're trying to get the blade. I forget the orc's name, the leader, the elf, who kind of is half elf and half orc right now. But that whole scene where he's trying to get them to reveal where the location of the Morgul blade is at, and just, being pretty brutal. I was surprised they kind of show that most of that stuff where just you see the civilians in that room just getting stabbed like very slowly and painfully, and until the kid Theo reveals the location of it. But then you get the Numenorians coming as reinforcements as the cavalry for some more cool action, and just Galadriel doing some awesome stuff on her horse, showing her elven abilities as a warrior there. It's all of that was just awesome. So I was satisfied just in that aspect. But I had a feeling there was more to come than just a really cool action sequence to why everyone was buzzing about this episode. And then the eruption of the volcano happened, and you just started seeing the destruction of the Southlands there, and just the rubble, the ash coming from the volcano, destroying everything. That well fought, hard victory they earned was all taken away in an instant by the eruption of that volcano, and just coming to fruition and showing why the orcs were doing what they were doing, digging through the tunnels and making sure that everything was put in place for this one moment to have that volcano erupt. And obviously you knew right away when you saw it, but as I was watching the episode, I was not expecting this to happen. And then they did a good job of never revealing that mountain or the volcano out in the distance in the Southland. Because right when they had that first shot where they're kind of like panning up and you see that volcano, what's looking like a mountain, you know exactly what that is. And you go, okay, I know exactly what they're doing here. And it's awesome. Showing the creation of Mordor was just like, I just had to applaud. It was just so perfectly executed, so well done. It was like a surprise that you knew was coming, but it was still a surprise. It's just awesome to see. They just did it perfectly and beautifully. It just really setting the stage up to what's to come, I think, in what we saw this episode this week, and then for the finale, just how it changes everything for the characters and just moving forward in the series overall. So I just thought that episode just really is where the Rings of Power hit its stride and just became as great as the Lord of the Rings show as I was hoping it would be. Kind of had that, because I had that same feeling in the opening prologue of the series, just showing that flashback, Galadriel's narration, her journey searching for Sauron. I really loved all that stuff, and this whole episode recaptured that feeling I had from that opening prologue. So it was just so well done. And then seeing the aftermath of it in this episode, as you were referring to, was Elendil thinking Isildur's dead, Queen Regent losing her eyesight because of it, and just the orcs and their leader making that their home now. We know what's to come. But yeah, it was just so well done. So I just really thought this series went in that direction and telling this part of the story in the history of Middle Earth and showing the creation of Mordor. And as we still search for who and where Sauron is at, which I think is coming in the season finale. And I'm looking forward to see who that actually is.
What's the key to the lightsaber?
The Kyber crystal?
No, the sorry, the Sauron sword or whatever. It's a lightsaber. It's a lightsaber.
It's not a lightsaber.
Yeah, you just need a little. Instead of kyber crystals, you just need a little bit of blood, right? You just need to stab it into your forearm. So it's a lightsaber. So like, what's the key to? I mean, what plot purpose is that sword for? Is it like to unlock like where Sauron's been hiding? Is that what?
Well, that was obviously just to unlock, to have the volcano erupt, and that location where it's at to just cause that seismic shift in the land, I guess, to cause the eruption, to have it create what we're going to know as Mordor. Because it opened that door, which caused that tower to, I believe, to collapse, and then it just set off a chain reaction of everything collapsing and falling in and causing the tunnels to flood, and then it causing the volcano to erupt.
And that was the whole thing.
As far as right now, maybe it'll be more to that dagger, but that was the purpose of it in this season anyway, at this point in the story.
Oh, okay. Also, do you think like Sauron is a spirit? Like he doesn't have a body? Like
yeah,
he can
that's
possess somebody. Is that
not that he possesses somebody, but he does. Like if he loses a physical body, he can reform into a different body. He's done that a lot of times.
I see.
So that's the thing. Everyone thinking it is a character that we've known already in the series, and I'm kind of thinking that too. But if they don't go that route, They just can't have him show up as someone totally new if they want, because that was an interesting thing where I love that interrogation Galadriel had with the orc leader, to where he reveals that he killed Sauron and thinking he's he's dead and he's the one in charge right now. But we know that even if Sauron loses his physical body, his spirit is out there and he can reform into another body. So, but I think they want to go for the surprise factor in the series. I just got that feeling because they kept it a secret so long. They're going to reveal that it is one of these characters that we've known already. But I just hope it gets revealed in the season finale. And it's not something that lingers on over the course of next season or a few seasons, because I would like to have Sauron become the main antagonist of the series at some point before the series is over, just to have him be a physical presence in the show, more so than he was in the movies, because that's part of the reason I was so excited that we're getting a Lord of the Rings show set in the Second Age, because I know what a focal point Sauron could be as the main antagonist and as a physical presence. So I really hope this whole thing of who is Sauron gets resolved in the next episode.
Yeah, you know who it's going to be, right?
I don't know. They keep throwing different things to try to make you guess of who it could be. Because right now, I think they're trying to lead you to believe it's the stranger, the giant with the Harfoots, because you got those mystics on his trail.
No.
But then in like the preview, they say, "Don't you you know who you are? You're Sauron." There's something to that, and it's the mix that's saying that, and like because they're having it. Because I saw that in the trailer, and it makes you think, since they're looking for the stranger, that's who they're talking to. But I don't think it's the case. I think they're trying to have that be the misdirection of who you think it is. And I hope it's not, because I really hope he ends up being a wizard, because I don't see that as the thing for Sauron to do. Like, even though he loses his body, he still retains, his spirit's there, and he retains his memories and everything that's come before. It's not like he loses his memory and have to regain it all. Which is kind of what we're seeing with the stranger.
No, it's going to be Halbrand.
That's the popular theory online.
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, that's probably going to be him, because otherwise he's just plain old Aragorn ripoff,
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't want to be the king, yada yada yada. So, yeah, it's going to be him. Tim.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, actually, because his character is the one storyline I'm not super into. Like, even in episode 6, where they're all saying like "Hail the King," or all the villagers were recognizing as the king, it's just like, I don't know, there's not doing anything for me. Like I said, it's just an Aragorn type story, not nearly invested as much as we were with Aragorn's story as the reluctant king. So I'm hoping, I wouldn't say I'm hoping, because if it is Sauron, I wouldn't mind if it's done in a way that makes sense. It could be kind of cool. So, but I just hope whatever his story becomes, it's more so than just him becoming a reluctant king. That is the most least interesting aspect as far as these characters and their stories goes in the series for me, is Halbrand's becoming the king. It's just something that's just not ringing true for me right now.
Yeah, it's either going to be him or it's going to be Prince Dorian. It's my pick. He is my pick.
The real wild card pick there.
Yeah, he's going to be my pick for Sauron. I
had to look up the main leader of the orcs name because it was bugging me. Adar or Adar? I think it's Adar. But
yeah, he only has an episode named after him.
That's all. Not that important, right? So yeah, Rings of Power, I've been really digging it. I've been in such a Lord of the Rings mood lately. It's because it's funny. Not so much because of the Rings of Power episodes before we got to episode 6, but watching Rings of Power has really made me dive into watching a ton of Nerd of the Rings videos and just watching and just absorbing myself into the lore and the history, especially of the First Age, because that's stuff I haven't read too much about. And I've just really been eating all that up. And I've just been in such a Middle Earth Lord of the Rings mood the last few weeks. And the Rings of Power has definitely helped maintain that momentum in these last few weeks too. So I'll probably be doing a rewatch of the movie soon coming up. So, I'm just in a total Middle Earth mood right now.
That guy is a nerd.
Lives up to the name.
But, yeah, lives up to the name. But I haven't seen his recap of episode 7 yet, but I watched all the other ones, and yeah, he's just one of those guys that man, like how can you know that much about like something in an appendices that was a poem that like doesn't really have that much description about it, right? Like oh, that's the star from this poem in this appendices from this book. This and it's not any of the Lord of the Rings books. It's not the Hobbit book. It's not the Silmarillion. It's some weird manuscript that Tolkien sort of like didn't finish. It's like, how do you know that, man? But yeah, I'm loving his videos. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like I said, I've been diving into the First Age stuff. Man, if we ever get a TV shows or movies showing that story, what takes place in the First Age with Morgoth as the first Dark Lord and the villain, man, we'd be in for some really cool stuff. That final battle, the War of Wrath, dude, that would be the most epic battle put to screen if done how it's described in there, where you got obviously orcs, elves, men, balrogs, dragons, eagles, all that stuff. It is one massive battle. Man, it'd be awesome. I think that's what they were showing in the first episode when we had the prologue with
Yeah.
Galadriel's brother in battle. I mean, it was real quick, but I believe that was the War of Wrath of what they were highlighting there. But that would just be a fraction of the carnage and the scope of what that battle would entail.
Oh, Tim, I had a really great question for you. So, end of episode, is it episode 7? We do in fact see the Balrog, the infamous Balrog, make an
Yes.
appearance, right?
Mhm.
So, in the Two Towers, right? What I didn't know was Gandalf just lets go. He doesn't get pulled down by the Balrog,
Uh-huh.
right? He lets go. He's
Yeah.
falling. He says he's falling for what seems like forever, and he's fighting the Balrog, and then they hit the water, and then they're fighting there. And I believe it's when they meet Gandalf the Grey. He sort of like tells the whole backstory, and he's
I
like,
mean, Gandalf the White.
and sorry, Gandalf the White, and he's like, and then we fought some more, right?
Mhm.
And they're fighting it, like in this underwater sea thing, and somehow they end up on the top of a mountain. How did they get there?
Yeah, that's a good question where I haven't necessarily dived into looking for the answers, but it is they traveled so deep within Middle Earth they somehow came out on that mountaintop. I'm not sure.
They went through the center of Middle Earth and then came out the other side.
Something like that. That works for
Yeah.
me. Why not?
Uh,
See, that's we should see if there's a video on that for on Nerd of the Rings. See if that
Yeah.
can get explained.
yeah, I gotta ask him that. I gotta like become a Patreon subscriber or something.
Just so you could get that question answered.
Yeah.
Suggest that video to be made.
Yeah, and then what was I gonna say? Oh, the Two Towers. I like how in the beginning like it's like a previously on
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, and then it's Frodo's dream. So Frodo is dreaming the Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know. I like that.
Yeah, but it's such a great opening though. God, I love
Yeah.
that sequence.
Yeah, the helicopter footage of the of those mountains and
Yeah,
the
even kicking off
audio
that way.
cues. Yeah,
And then you hear the voices like coming from the mountain. It's real
Right.
faint and echoey. Then it just
yeah,
pans into there. Oh, it's so good.
yeah. It's definitely a great previously on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. All I needed to have was
Well.
some one of the characters saying that the voiceover.
Anyway, yeah, more Balrog for me. I'm a big fan.
Oh yeah, we should watch the video on their backstory and where they come from.
Such a cool design.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is that the way that Tolkien described the Balrog?
For the most part, I know there have been different interpretations of how it could look. There's
Yeah.
some where like he doesn't have wings too, and one where it
Get
kind of
that
looks
out of
more
here. Get that
and
out
one
of
where it
here,
kind of
Tim.
looks more human, like with his face too.
No,
So
no, no. Get that out of here, Tim. Throw that away. This is the ultimate version of the Balrog.
I would agree. This design they have for the movies and for this series, it's perfect.
You know, I want a sister series for Rings of Power. It's good. It's going to be called the Balrog of Power, right? And we're just going to go around with the Balrog. See what?
No, it has to be plural.
Say.
The Balrogs of Power.
Balrogs of Power. Yeah, you know, the Balrog met a romantic partner and decided to
Oh man.
you know, so I'm all for it. Sister show.
There was like a Balrog who was referred to as the Lord of the Balrogs, like the king. His name was Gothmog. So that could be the character we could focus on and see who he ends up in a romantic relationship with.
I should do more research on the Balrog because he seems like there's a story there, a sister show, for Amazon. When when they're filming Rings of Power, you can have the Balrogs of Power on your streaming service, and just switch them off. Like one time you'll have Balrogs of Power, the other time you have Rings of Power.
Hey, I'd be down for it. Why not?
It can work.
They put it on, I'll watch it.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean. I just love Balrogs. I don't know why. They just look cool. I know nothing about them.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do actually have some history I find pretty interesting. So definitely check that out.
Oh, I'm sure Nerd of the Rings has a 3-part, 3-hour video of.
It's not 3 parts, but he does have a video. Actually, that was one of the ones I watched last week. So it was definitely gave me some good insight on the Balrogs I never knew before. So it's right there for you to learn their history if you want to.
I will do that. I wonder how many copies of the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit or the Silmarillion or whatever that he owns. Nerd of the Rings.
I'm sure more than one.
Yeah.
But I've been meaning to get myself a new copies of the books. I might have mentioned this before, but there's one that came out like a year or two ago that's like has some illustrations in there that look really nice that I want to get. Because the ones I have, that was actually a gift from my cousin when after Fellowship just came out, and it's just like paperbacks with on the cover just images from the movies. I don't necessarily like having those for the books. I want the art to reflect art inspired by the book and not from the films. But that might just be some nerdy nitpick I have. But
you don't want to be one of those fake fans, Tim.
Oh no, I can never.
You want to get the fully illustrated versions. One version I would highly recommend, Tim, and I really don't have to sell it that much. Is Andy Serkis reading Lord of the Rings?
I did get the audio version of The Hobbit. I had like one free credit left on Audible, and I'd used it for that.
Yeah.
So
they are.
He was great.
Yeah, they are really, really good. I'm listening to the Two Towers, so yeah, nice. It's really good. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's all about Middle Earth right now for me, which is awesome. But there's more too than just Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings stuff we're getting. That's really awesome. And of course, the other fantasy show that we've been talking about on the podcast is House of the Dragon. And while Rings of Power is ending next week, we still got 2 more or 3 more episodes of House of the Dragon. We're on episode 7, this last one, or is it 8?
7, I think.
Okay, so we got 3 more. And so I think before our last episode, we were still kind of in the first half of the first 5 episodes where we didn't have the time jump. But now we've had that time jump of about 10 years or so, maybe even more, where we got new actresses playing Rhaenyra and
Allison.
Like our name, Allison. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so things keep getting more intense, more. I'm just going to say worse for the Targaryen family here, but boy, does it make for some engaging television to watch. I don't think it's skipped a beat at all since we had that time jump. Like I said, things are just getting more intensified for how I know things are going to end up once we get to that actual Dance of Dragon Civil War, and it's been great. Especially, I really love this last episode. It might have been the best of the season so far. Last week was like such a great week of the TV shows we've been watching. Almost all of them hit it out of the park, and House of the Dragon was no exception. So I've really been digging this as well. But anything changed for you on the time jump, Dane, as far as getting new actors playing these characters and the story jumping so far ahead in just the course of a few episodes?
Yeah, how well they've cast the roles of, I'm talking about both actresses, of Rhaenyra and Alicent.
Yeah.
Especially Alicent. Like, I couldn't even remember the younger actress because they both look almost exactly the same. But yeah, that was the main thing, like how well they casted, the younger actress who plays the teenager version, the actress they got to play the adult versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent. But yeah, I mean, it was seamless for me. I don't know what if people are complaining about it or whatever, but I
Not
really
that I've
enjoyed
seen.
it.
Yeah.
It was perfectly done.
I did get, when I sent my tweet out of how much I enjoyed the first episode with them, I did get one response from just someone who's like not mutual followers or anything. She just put, "I wish they didn't change the actresses." And then I looked at the profile. That was pretty much her response to almost every tweet of talking about House of the Dragon. It's almost like one of those automated tweets that goes out saying, I wish they did change the actors or something like that. So that was the only complaint I've seen. I don't know if that's even really a legitimate one.
Yeah, like I said, I couldn't even tell that they got a different actress to play Alicent. They casted it so well, and it seems like the two actresses, separate. I mean, like collectively, came up with the character themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that good. And man, that first scene, that first scene with the older Rhaenyra giving birth.
Yeah,
and then
what an introduction.
Alicent, yeah, I know. And then Alicent wants to see the baby, and then it's like that one take. It's that single take going up the stairs to the Queen's room, and then they leave the Queen's room, and you can see the blood on the ground from when she gave birth. Yeah, like what a scene to introduce like the new character, and to introduce I'm forgetting her name, Damon's second wife.
Oh yeah.
The Valerian. Jeez, what's her name? Like, I'm not even gonna try it, but what
too many characters and too many shows to remember all these names.
What a scene at the end of, was it episode 6?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker too. I was like
that was pretty bad. She sort of has like a miscarriage, or the baby is stuck and you can't get it out. She has her dragon burn her to death. And
I mean, she even alluded to it earlier. How she wants, when she dies, she wants to die as a dragon rider, and she was probably the closest she was able to realize that in the situations she was in, unfortunately. But
it's not only that's like the situation; it's also the fact that like Vagar's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
he has sort of like a look. Yeah,
it took him a while.
Yeah, so it's heartbreaking.
I did, because that was something. Again, I haven't read Fire and Blood, but I've watched those history and lore videos. But regarding to her character, I didn't realize that was a change to how she died in the book, where I believe it just said she did have that. I think she actually gave birth to a baby, but it was like very sick. It died. It was like, I don't know if it was a stillborn or there was something wrong with it, but she kind of survived after. Like Daemon brings her back. Like he looks for her. He brings her back to her room, and then she just dies like in her bedroom. So it was definitely more powerful, impactful, poetic, I guess, in the way she wanted to go out, and they did in the show. And like you said, having that connection with the dragon and him even not wanting to do it. So it was just, it made for a powerful moment.
And before this, we were talking about like the actresses, like the seamless transition between the two actresses, and another sort of seamless transition, even though the actor doesn't change, is Sir Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like before that, like he's all about Rhaenyra, and then after that, he's all about Alicent.
Yeah,
hates Rhaenyra.
And in turn, like he's become one of the more hated characters in the series, as far as someone you can't root for anymore.
And I love it. I love the fact that he sort of switched sides, and he's all about trying to get back at Rhaenyra. And I think what they nailed in this show is the uncomfortableness of, like, you know, a secret, and this sort of like family drama sort of stuff, you know, like it's so uncomfortable most of the time. The wedding was majorly uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Especially
when Alicent walks in.
In the green dress.
Yep.
And then Sir Kristen beats I
think his name was Joffrey.
Yeah, Joffrey. Yeah. What's his name? Laenor's secret lover. Bashes his head in, and also with the funeral, Laena. That's her name. Laena is Damon's wife, right?
Okay.
Especially at that funeral, like just sort of like that uncomfortableness, and then like what I've realized. Like, what makes Viserys a weak king is he can't ever really make a decision. You know, he doesn't want to make a decision, and he doesn't want to make that uncomfortable decision. So it's all going to pour over after he dies.
Because it comes from a place where he wants to please everyone.
Both sides. Yeah. He wants to please both sides. And like another thing that surprised me too about this show is how Viserys is living still. Like, I don't understand. I mean,
well, it doesn't look like it's going to be for much longer.
Yeah, like he was sickly in the 10 years before scenes, and now, you know, he's if he's not at death's doorstep, he's pretty close. You know?
Yeah. So I wonder if he's even going to die in the next new episode, or if it's going to be like at the end of the season. But I could see it happening within this episode tomorrow, maybe, and that really setting things off to
I don't know.
end the season.
I think Vagar is going to have to burn him alive, because I think he's going to survive. He's like a cockroach, man. He's
he has to die pretty soon, because that's what kicks off everything for the Dragon Civil War to get started.
You sure about that? We're not going to see like an elderly.
Sort of like they are making some changes from the books. So maybe that will be another change. He's still alive and the war goes on. He's just oblivious and delusional to see what's happening.
Oh, man. How is that guy still alive? I don't know. He had all the sores. And yeah, like I was questioning, like what's the meaning of the sores? It's from the Iron Throne, right? It's sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
That's what it's from. I didn't know that. Yeah.
There's like that thing, too, where they say, like, if you like get those sores or you get wounded or injured from sitting on the Iron Throne, it's like you're not meant to be the king. You're not meant to sit on the throne. It's like the throne's telling you shouldn't be king. Right.
I don't know how he's still alive, Tim. I don't know. I'd just be like, you know what? I'll welcome death if I was at that point. No.
Just bring you to the dragon and say Dracarys.
Yeah, just do it. Do it for me, Tim.
All right, Dane. I'll put that in your will. I'll be sure to be the one.
I probably at that point can't even say Dracarys, right? so you're gonna have to do it for me.
Okay.
But yeah,
speaking of dragons,
I'm loving this show, Tim.
One of my favorite moments is the last episode. Even though, I mean, how hateable are Viserys and Alicent's kids, Aemon and Aegon Targaryen?
Oh my god,
especially Aegon, right?
Spoiled, rotten brats. I swear.
At first, I kind of felt a little bad for Aemon, where they're making fun of him because he couldn't get a dragon. They bring that pig on with wings. So one of my favorite moments was when he went to Vhagar and was able to, tame him and claim him as his dragon and become a rider. That scene was just awesome. Just the visuals of that. I know a lot of that last episode got a lot of flack for being too dark visually, where people couldn't see things. I know what they're coming from, but I actually kind of like that. It stood out to me too, but I just kind of like the feel it had for what was going on, especially in that moment with Aemon taming Vhagar and becoming his rider. Like that whole sequence was just awesome. Just seeing how someone can actually become a dragon rider for the first time, and just how exhilarating that must have been for him. And then he comes in and he picks a fight with Rhaenyra's kids and Daemon's kids, and just goes off on him, and just becomes a spoiled brat that his brother was too, and just knowing that was in the cards for him as well. It came on full display there, because I also knew too from the stuff I watched where he does lose an eye later on, or once they have the big battle, or in the War of the Dance of Dragons, he's someone who wears a patch on it, but I never knew how it happened, and this is how it happened here by one of Rhaenyra's children. So that just set up that whole intense sequence in Viserys' room, where just Alicent and Rhaenyra just really go at it, as far as Alicent wants retribution, wants to take Rhaenyra's son's eye, and she was going to take it herself, and just having Rhaenyra stop it was just great. So man, that whole sequence too was just another intense moment for all the actors and characters involved with the series, really kind of showing their chops. It was just really, really, really great performances all around.
Yeah, and I pretty much for the entire episode didn't have a problem with the darkness, but the one scene I would complain about is the scene after that, where they planned, Rhaenyra and Daemon planned to assassinate Laenor, and I kind of didn't see what happened. Like, so he throws his bodyguard to the ground, and then locks up with I forget the guy's name already. That's his lover, right? That's Laenor's lover, right? And then like they lock up, and you don't really see what's happening, and then all of a sudden you see a burned corpse in front of the sea snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of didn't see what happened. Like, whose body is that?
Yeah, I didn't know or see
just
it either.
A random.
Whereas like they just took out some random guard or somebody. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
they just got a random body. Yeah.
So this is something I didn't know either, but that was a change from the book, where Laenor survives that, actually, where they fake the whole thing with his death, because he does die in the book and he's never heard from again, obviously.
Yeah.
But here's a question I have for you, because I'm still not so sure about this. Do you think Daemon actually hired that guy to kill Laenor, but he couldn't go through with it, and they planned to escape together? Or did it come from Daemon and Rhaenyra to say, make it look like you killed him, but you two can go off and live your life and all that type of thing? Because I can see Rhaenyra wanted to do that, as far as, he was her husband. They did like each other. I don't think she wanted to kill him. So I could see it coming from her, where let's fake the whole thing. But from Daemon, I could see where he just would have told him, go ahead and kill him off and be done with it. But he couldn't do it. So I wonder if that will ever be fully explained or not, or if I'm just reading too much into it. But I just did think that. I'm not sure if that was actually what Daemon and Rhaenyra had intended to happen.
See, like after thinking about it, like I was more like, maybe it was Rhaenyra's sort of plan, because I don't think she was there yet to kill her husband.
Yeah, because when that happens, like, oh man, they're really, I mean,
yeah, they're really going for it.
Yeah, they're making some really tough, terrible decisions here for like the greater benefit of their family.
But it's also a terrible decision to let him live, right?
Yeah, that's true too.
So it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, I think the more interesting answer is that Rhaenyra told Laenor's lover to, fake his death. I think that's the more interesting answer.
Yeah, because
like,
that could come up for some future conflicts where like if
Sure.
Damon thought he was going to be killed, but then Rhaenyra did something different, and then Laenor comes back. Because obviously, I don't think we're probably going to see him again this season, but he'll be back in the future season. I'd probably in the mix, and when this war is really going on, he'll come in and probably cause a lot more complications.
yeah, that's the more interesting answer to me.
Yeah,
Rather than so Rhaenyra and Daemon are married now, and they killed him, and then he decided to fake his own death or whatever. So
yeah. I agree. It's definitely probably a better decision to make. As you said, it's more interesting to keep him alive and have him show up to be a new wrinkle in someone's plans and strategy during this war. But it also makes me think they're changing this stuff if the whole ending to the Dance of Dragons and the series and the fate of these characters, if they're going to change that as well. Because I don't want to spoil too much. I think I might have we talked about the history of the Dance of Dragons before. Might have put out a spoiler warning then, but about what happens. But I won't do it now. But it just makes me think if the fate of certain characters is going to be different now because of doing this one little thing of a character who dies and having him be alive changes and causes major complications as we're talking about. If the fate of certain characters are going to be different by the time we get to the end of the series.
Also, you seem to know more about Game of Thrones than I do, but like, isn't Vhagar supposed to be the biggest dragon?
Yeah, he's the biggest one out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I figured because when I forget his name. Valerian? Is that his name? No. When the kid that loses the eye.
Oh, Aemon.
Yeah, Aemon. Yeah. When he takes on the dragon, he flies with the dragon. He's like barely holding on.
Yeah.
When the dragon is flying up. Yeah.
I know that's what's crazy. Like this, the smallest child now has the biggest dragon. But we're getting another time jump in this episode though because the kids are pretty much all grown up as we saw in the previews here. So if we get to this point later in the series and the story, we should get an awesome fight sequence between his dragon and Daemon's dragon when they have a battle together. That should be pretty epic.
I don't want to see a dragon die, Tim. I can't do it.
That's gonna be the hardest part about this series. More so than human deaths. We're gonna see a lot of dragon deaths by the time the series is over with.
Great.
Especially, this is going to be a real tough moment. I don't know if I should say it, but if you know your Game of Thrones and Westeros lore, you probably know what happens at the very end of this war regarding dragons, and it's not pretty.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Okay, tell me.
Okay, so at the end, like the citizens and folk of King's Landing, they start a little revolt and thinking that dragons are the cause of all this and dragons should be eradicated from the earth. So like a mob goes to the dragon pit wanting to kill all the dragons in there, and the dragons fight them off. They burn a lot, but in the end there's too many people and they end up killing most of the dragons in the dragon pit. And one tries to escape through, but it crashes into the ceiling and just falls and just kills everyone in that room. But it just that's what starts the decline of the dragons in Westeros and why they become extinct later on. It was because they were all killed off in that moment.
Oh,
and then
great.
It was like hard to like breed new dragons too, because it comes to a point where they wouldn't grow any bigger than dogs or cats, and until Daenerys is obviously, but that was kind of the beginning of the eradication of the dragons, which, man, to see that on screen, that's going to be tough to watch. I don't know if I can watch it.
You know what? This show sucks. I'm not going to watch it anyway.
Well, you have been warned. It should be several seasons away, though.
Okay. I just won't look.
Yeah. So, yeah, House of the Dragon has been awesome. Still hasn't skipped a beat at all since episode 1, pretty much. So it's been an amazing series to watch every Sunday.
Yes, it has. And the lack of action really, really helps. I know that
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah, that was one of the criticisms I've read that people have had, is that there's not a lot of action in it. But it certainly makes up for the lack of action with all of the drama.
You just get so invested with these characters. That's where your, like I said, your investment lies with, and your enjoyment of the series comes from, is just seeing these characters and the outcomes. Their bad decisions, their good decisions, is what's gonna play out. And so yeah, it's just
Sure.
been a really great dramatic series.
Yeah.
So that
What
actually, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
no. I was just gonna say, but what I'm really enjoying is the next show we're probably gonna talk about.
Yeah, because that was actually going to be my next segue into
Yeah.
that, because I haven't gotten your reaction, and some of the criticism you're just talking about with House of Dragon is being applied to this series as well. So, and that of course would be the next Star Wars series, Andor, which is we're now 5 episodes in. So, from the sounds of it, Dane, I think you're really liking this one. Am I correct in that
So,
assessment?
so this is my favorite show on TV right now.
Yes.
More than Game of Thrones. I mean, House of the Dragon. More than Rings of Power. This is my favorite show. This is the one I look forward to watching every Wednesday. Every time it comes out. Um, yeah, I love the slow storytelling. I know a lot of people criticize the show for that, but I really love the slow storyline that's building and building and building. With Andor, you know, joining or trying to find his sister and joining the rebellion, or being recruited to join the rebellion, and all of these little different nuances that you wouldn't necessarily get with a show like The Mandalorian, where everything is moving so fast. Where at this planet, we got to hit this story mark. We've got to introduce this character, and so on and so forth. This show is my favorite Star Wars show that they've come out with, besides the Bad Batch, and I think this one I like a little more than the Bad Batch, but yeah, I'm just really liking the slow storytelling, because you're staying with the characters. You're not just jumping from one set to the other, to the next spaceship, to the next fight, to the next whatever. And it's refreshing in a sense, because you can tell this story, and it is a really complicated story. You want to talk about occupation or imperialism. You can't really tell that story without staying with the characters and seeing what's happening. And you want to talk about, you want to include a revolutionary storyline, and you can't tell that story with when you're jumping around from planet to planet, to storyline to storyline. And I feel like this show really nails that. And what really impresses me is kind of what impresses me with House of the Dragon, where it, like you said, there's not a lot of action. There really isn't. I can only think of one scene, maybe two scenes in one episode. I think the shootout with those Corpos and Andor and Luthen.
Yeah, that's really it,
And
honestly.
yeah, that whole scene, I guess you could count as two. That's pretty much it. But what I really enjoy about the Andor show is that, or at least what really interests me, is the show shows the bureaucracy of the Empire. I know that doesn't sound very interesting, and it doesn't really sound like what you would call a Star Wars show, essentially, right? Because Star Wars is about the adventure, and I think with this show, the farther you can get away from that, is for the better. It's far from the lofty ideals of this big grand adventure, with the rebellion, and in a more realistic sense, they're having major funding problems, and they can't transfer their money. They can't get their money to pay the rebels, their people. They can't buy new stuff. They have to steal everything. They have to, take the Star Navigator or whatever that thing is called from an Imperial ship because they can't afford to buy one. This is a guerrilla movement essentially. I guess it would be it's real world analog, and all their operations are just one little small move away from going really really bad. And like the plan on Aldani, it's a really stupid plan. Sneak into the dam and get payroll information of all things.
And they don't even know how to work their escape ship.
Exactly. They don't know how to pilot the thing, and they think they can pilot it through the dam and out, and sort of like lose the empire in an event that happens once every 3 years. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really bad plan to do that, and it's a suicide mission, and it's that sort of thing that you can stick with, even though it's a really bad plan. It sort of, in a way, like, makes sense. Like, that's the only way they can do this. There's no other way to do it. And another thing I really like about the show is like the group of rebels that are trying to do this mission, right? It's like they all have their own reason to join the rebellion, right?
Yeah.
One guy wants revenge. Cassian just wants money, he just wants to be away from where he's being chased.
That was a great scene too, where Cassian just straight up tells everybody, "I'm in it for the money."
Yeah, like, I'm being paid for this. Yeah. There's another guy who really is an idealist. He really believes in the rebel cause, and the imperialism, the oppression, all of that sort of thing. And they all have these different reasons and to join the rebellion. And I think, like I was saying before, like, I think if you had a story, or you had the pacing of a show like The Mandalorian, you can't really tell that story, and it doesn't really have that same exact meaning. And that's why I really really like this show. And I mean, just sitting with Mon Mothma, like, I had no idea she had a family. I had
Me
no
neither.
idea she was married.
Same here. Yeah.
Idea she had a kid. Kind of knew she was a senator, and I didn't know how deep in trouble or under suspicion she was. Where, like, she's being watched. She has a new courier, or a new driver.
Yeah.
Right? She has a new driver, and that guy is spying on her, so she has to, come up with this grand scheme to, like, talk with Luthen, right? Again, you're sticking with the characters, and you're making them more than just a 2D caricature, right? You're making them a fully formed character, and that's essentially why I love this show. And I love the slow storytelling. I love the story, and it's really a story that really relies on, or it's a show that really relies on its acting, and everybody is really knocking it out of the park. And it's writing, and again, they're knocking it out of the park. Even like a small character like the woman that takes Cassian from his home planet, like, even that small little role, like, you can tell she's seen some stuff. You can tell she was a revolutionary. You can tell that, like, some real stuff is going to go down in that one episode, right? Like, it's so well done. And what I really really respect the show for is when they show Cassian's home planet. I really respect the show in they provide no translation for what they're saying. There's no subtitles.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
all
good point.
done with the acting. And I mean, it's not like you're lost in it. You can tell like what they're gonna do, what they're thinking, and all that sort of stuff. So that, yeah, I love that. Like they show no subtitles and it's all their acting. And yeah, that's I love this show, Tim. It's my favorite. It's my favorite show on television right now. It's my favorite Star Wars show that they've come out with, and it's made me really love Rogue One even more than I did before. Yeah.
Nice. So I had a feeling you were gonna really enjoy that. Wasn't sure quite on the level that you're loving it. It's your absolute favorite TV show, but that is
Yeah.
awesome. I love hearing that.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great too. I mean, the first few when it first premiered, it made total sense why they had the 3-episode premiere, because you were getting one complete story in those 3 episodes. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that's kind of how the series is going to work. It's going to be similar to Clone Wars, where you have these arcs in the season, to where like 3 episodes are going to combine into one story arc, and we're in the middle of the second one right now. And I think that's going to be pretty cool to see play out, because those first 2, if they were just released that first episode, it would have been something more like really, that's all that happens here. But when you see it over the course of that whole story, it's just really great. It is great storytelling. You're diving deep into the characters. And I just loved how those first 3 episodes of that first story arc is just really self-contained into the lives of Cassian, these people on this planet, and the corporation that is in that system patrolling there. There's no hints of the Jedi, obviously, the rebellion, the Empire. They're kind of mentioned here and there, but they have no presence. And it's kind of a slow build to them becoming more of a presence in the series, as we're seeing in this new arc now, where the Empire is heavily featured. Mon Mothma is now involved. And I just love getting and seeing all these new details and aspects, stuff we knew about, but we're finally seeing on screen, is how the Empire and the rebellion operates. Getting a firsthand inside look at the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, pretty much their FBI division, and seeing what goes on there. Just being back on Coruscant too was just awesome. I just love being able to see Coruscant in this time period too, where the Empire is in control, because we never seen that before in live action, except for the celebration scene at the end of Return of the Jedi, when the Empire was being overthrown. So to see the Empire at the heart of Coruscant is just a trip to see. And you mentioned it too. I love getting the stuff with Mon Mothma. Her being in this series is one of the most things I was excited about. Just knowing what she's going to have to, see her really do what she needs to do to help the rebellion, but at the same time maintain her position as an Imperial senator, and the juggling act she has to do, and how careful she has to be. And it was on full display in her first appearance. I love that meeting she had with Luthman, where she was acting like she was buying some ancient relic or artifact for her husband, when in fact Luthman's trying to get some more money from Mon Mothma to fund the rebellion. And just getting that insight to knowing where a good portion of the money comes from is from Mon Mothma. Now it's now becoming a struggle to get that. Everyone's watching her, as she said in that episode. So I just find all that stuff really, really fascinating, and stuff I've been wanted to see in this series and hope they would explore. They are exploring that dynamic. I'm just eating it all up. I just really love in this story arc that we're getting on this mission on Aldhani, this crew that Cassian's with now. As you said, they all have their own motivation for doing what they're doing here. They just make for some great character dynamics amongst this group. And I hate to say it, but I think next week's episode, I'll be shocked if any of them survive. That mission.
Oh yeah.
I'm just expecting Cassian to make it out of there. And he's obviously going to gain some new perspective on the rebellion, and probably what's obviously going to make him eventually fully join the Rebel Alliance. But this is kind of his first dive into that aspect. And I'm sure losing most of his team here is probably going to play a factor for him wanting to continue their fight. But yeah, I'm not expecting a happy ending for their crew next week. And probably going to be something that's going to be a little tough to watch. But yeah, this series has been off. It kicked off in an unexpected way, like I said, kind of with that slow burn in the first few episodes. But once it gets going in that 3rd episode, and then you watch that whole story told in one sitting, it is really well done, and just sets the stage for the other stuff that's going to come. Because we are going to get more action. We've seen the stormtroopers in battle. We've seen a space battle with TIE fighters. And I'm really anxious to get that flashback sequence where we see the clone troopers and see them in action again. So Death Troopers are going to be involved too. So all that stuff's coming. So it's not like I think anyone should be worried saying, "Oh, there's going to be no action in this series. Like it's just going to be uh, a slow burn all the way out." Like, no, that's not the case. And even if it was, these last few episodes and this current story arc have just been really fascinating to see unfold. So even if there isn't going to be a lot of action, I'm just really digging the story that they're telling here with these characters. So yeah, it's a different type of Star Wars show, but it's great that we have this as this variety. I keep seeing these different opinions too, where it's like, oh, this is the Star Wars shows we always needed and wanted. This is what Star Wars should be right now. And then you got the other side of it, thinking, oh, this is way boring. Like we don't. Where's the action from the Mandalorian and that type of stuff? So, but it's like that type of thinking is just so, to me, it's just so like single-minded, where you should be more excited and celebrating the fact that we had this variety of Star Wars shows to watch. If one's not your cup of tea, that's fine. There you got others to pick and choose from. So just the fact that we are getting a different type of Star Wars here that is more character-based and more a dramatic type of storytelling, and I just think is awesome that we have it now. So yeah, I've been really, really enjoying Andor. Just glad we got a lot more episodes to go, as we're just in episode 5 of a 12 episode or 12 season run, I should say.
Yeah, I kind of don't understand that either, where it's like, I'll be honest, the Book of Boba Fett kind of wasn't my favorite show. It sort of just reminded me of the Mandalorian a lot, which isn't a bad thing. But, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Not everything has to be your absolute favorite thing either, too.
Yeah, exactly. But with this show, yeah, this is my cup of tea. This is really knocking it out of the park. And even if that was the end of the action,
Yeah.
like we're just gonna have talking scenes from now on. I'm totally fine with that.
Because I'm really looking forward to the Senate scenes that we get in Mon Mothma's appearance in the show, because we know we're going to see the Imperial Senate in the Senate chamber again. Like, I can't wait to see that again. I know that was kind of a thing people like to point to when criticizing episode 1, being all the politics involved and being boring and that stuff. But I find all that stuff fascinating in Star Wars.
If you're gonna complain about politics in Star Wars, you've not understood Star Wars.
Yeah, there wouldn't be Star Wars without the politics in there.
Politics is Star Wars. Star Wars is politics.
Yep.
And we still got probably my favorite character of Star Wars coming up, Saw Gerrera. I don't know how he's gonna play into all this, but yeah, I really want to see Saw on the big small screen again. So yeah, I've been loving the show. I've been loving this show. I can't wait to see the next episode. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Hear, hear. And before we end our TV show discussion recap, one show that we haven't really talked about before, but I don't think you've been watching, Dane, but I have, is the latest MCU show, She-Hulk. And talk about the total opposite of the last shows we've been watching, but it's still so entertaining, so fun. It's a sitcom comedy really much, and it really plays into that aspect really well amongst the MCU. But the reason I really want to talk about it now is because this last episode had the appearance of Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock in Daredevil, fully featured as a guest appearance in the episode, and boy was it awesome. It was just great, not only just seeing him back as Daredevil, but of course we got the little cameo appearance of Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home, which was great, but seeing him now in actually a full complete story was just great to see him back in the role again. He hasn't skipped a beat. The character, it feels like we're seeing the same character from the Netflix series, but because the show is definitely a lighter tone than obviously the Daredevil series was, but it feels like to me, watching it as a natural progression for his character, the way season 3 ended, he was in a better place at the time. And I know people were concerned, oh, is this going to be a more lighthearted Daredevil cracking jokes all the time and stuff? And like at the end of season 3, he was cracking jokes in that scene in Foggy's family's deli restaurant that they had there with him, Karen, and Foggy. He was telling jokes and cracking jokes there. So it's not like he was a joyless character in that series. He had his funny moments as well. And that was kind of more of the Matt Murdock we saw in his appearance in She-Hulk, being that more character. Like I said, he was in a better place at the end of that series, and that kind of continues on. And I felt like a natural progression into his appearance of She-Hulk. It was just a lot of fun, and him as Daredevil was just great too. The action was great. Seeing him have a little scuffle with She-Hulk was awesome. He had another hallway fight, not quite as good as the one in the series, but it kind of felt like a nice homage to that type of fighting style that he had in that series. And his suit too, going with his original classic red and gold costume instead of just the full-blown red outfit. And it worked really well on screen too. I was curious how because I heard rumors about that a while ago, that when we see Daredevil in the MCU, he's going to have his yellow and gold or his red and gold costume. I was wondering how they're going to pull it off, but it looked great seeing it in live action. So, yeah, I was real happy with his appearance in the series. Can't wait for this Daredevil Born Again series to come out in a couple of years. But his first full appearance, I can't say his first appearance technically in the MCU because that was Spider-Man No Way Home, but full appearance, I'll say, as he was an integral part into the story in this episode of She-Hulk. This is really, really cool. And just the series in general, like I said, it's just been a lot of fun to watch. It's a totally different tone from the other ones, but it just adds to that nice variety of different TV shows that we've been getting on a weekly basis now. So, and that its first season wraps up next week as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, I had to give a shout out to that episode because it was awesome. And just how amazing, because it's going to be the last time next week where we have a new episode, a new MCU series, a new Star Wars series, a new Lord of the Rings series, and a Game of Thrones series all airing at the same time. And just pretty much having a show to look forward to almost every day of the week has been amazing and a lot of fun. So I'm going to enjoy that one more time next week before Lord of the Rings and She-Hulk wraps up, to where we're just down to Star Wars and then Game of Thrones, and then just 2 weeks after that, just Star Wars. But what an awesome time it is to be a nerdy, geeky fan with all this great stuff coming to your television sets on a weekly basis. It's been such a fun ride.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get to She-Hulk because it was review bombed, I think.
Of course.
Yeah, so that usually means I'll
It's good, right?
like something. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I want to see Matt Murdock again. One little thing is, if you're gonna have that Matt Murdock, that Daredevil, you have to have the single take fight scene. Like if you're gonna introduce him in the MCU, you gotta have at least once per season. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
they're probably going to save that for his own series. We didn't get that in the She-Hulk episode, but I would like to think you're right on that, where he has to have at least one take action sequence. It's become a standard and staple for his character in the TV world.
But it sounds like, from what you've said, they don't really take themselves that seriously. So
No, yeah. It's like, She-Hulk's a character who breaks the fourth wall like Deadpool, so there's a lot of self-awareness going on.
Oh, she does. Okay. Yeah, that should be interesting. Okay, yeah, that's one I've been meaning to get to, and I just haven't gotten around to it because of Rings of Power and games, House of the Dragon and Andor now. So yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked any of these series out, do yourself a favor. If you have the service they're on, definitely check them out. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Yeah, even just with a Disney Plus subscription. I mean, you have She-Hulk and you have Andor. So
you get 2 out of the 4 shows we talked about on this one.
Right.
So yeah, I guess before we wrap up the episode up, there is one bit of comic news I wanted to mention, because I just found this out. I heard about it late last night, but just got confirmed today. Is something I'm really excited about with the DC Universe app, or the DC Universe Infinite app, I should say. Pretty much their digital comic service where you pay a monthly fee to get their back catalog of comics. And for new issues, you have to wait 6 months after print before they get on the app, which is a bit of a long wait. And I mentioned too how, when we talked about this before, where the Marvel Unlimited app is a 3-month wait only, which is a lot more convenient and a lot more obviously appealing since you have a shorter wait time to get new issues. But DC just announced that they're going to have a different tier plan for the DC Universe Infinite subscription called DC Universe Ultra, where for that subscription, it's going to launch just a couple of days on October 10th. So by the time you're listening to this episode, it will be available. To where with this new tier plan, you're going to be able to get brand new issues only a month after their print release. And that to me is a huge deal. And the price point is going to be a little increase, of course. I believe it's just going to be for a year subscription. It'll be $100 for the whole year, which is not too much of a hike from their current subscription. So I think it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a game changer as far as digital comics and versus retail, I think, because I think a lot of people would probably realize that's not so bad of a wait to just pay a monthly service and have access to every new DC comic book that comes out on a regular basis. So, and that will help with maybe catching up on some storylines and issues, or maybe even some titles that I haven't read a major DC title in so long. And the fact that there's one that captures my interest, I mean, to get back into some Batman comics on a more frequent basis this way, this is probably how I'm going to do it. So I'm definitely going to sign up, change my subscription because I'm already subscribed, but I'm going to go to this Ultra tier as soon as it launches on October 10th because I think it's going to be really great to have. Just knowing that I can read these current issues only a month after they came out is going to be just so much better knowing and having this app and to be able to stay more current and just be able to have this subscription because this is how I've been reading comics for the most part for Marvel and DC. The only new series I get buy on a monthly basis as single issues is just Ninja Turtles and the current Darth Vader comic. That's about it. So, but now that I could be more current in some bigger DC storylines is going to be with my already subscription that I have, just paying a little more. I think it's definitely going to be worth it. So I'm excited for that to launch and looking forward to see if Marvel follows suits. Maybe they'll change their window for print release to a month with another subscription. So we'll see if they follow suit. But I think I'm so glad that the digital side of the comic industry is moving towards this now, where the wait to get it in your monthly subscription is becoming shorter and shorter. So I am really excited about this move.
Yeah, are you going to get the that Gotham Knights game?
I'm going to wait on it a bit, to be honest. I've been a little iffy on some of the combat stuff and how it works.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get it once they have like maybe even as soon as like not even used, but you know, the digital stores for Microsoft and Sony, like when it comes to the holiday season, even some of the newer games that come out like a few months before are usually on sale. So I might wait for that and of course see how the reviews are. If it gets like super amazing reviews of like the next great Batman game or just great game in general, I don't think that's going to be the case because I'm kind of hearing some mixed reactions already. But I'll probably get it once it goes on sale a little bit later down the line.
Comes out this month, right?
Yeah, I think next week or 2 weeks.
I see. Yeah. I was thinking about it and I almost got it, but I was just like, you know what? I've been burned before.
Right.
You know what? I'm just going to wait on this one. So.
Yeah, plus I got some other games to play too. Before. Yeah. So, but I'll definitely play it. We'll definitely play it eventually. That's for sure. It's a new Batman game. It's not like I'm not going to play it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with that, I guess that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So, Dane, as always, I'll throw it to you for the outro.
All right, go over to the BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse, Twitter handles @BatmanUniverse, the show's Twitter handles @BatFans, @BatFans Podcast.
There you go.
I almost forgot it for a second. Tim's Twitter handle is @TimG311. My Twitter handle is @DaneSesBanana. Rate and review us on iTunes. And you can email the show at batfanswithoutfans@gmail.com. So with that, like we see at the end of every single episode, Tim.
We love each and every one of you with all of our TV show loving hearts, no matter how many of these TV shows we've been watching the last few weeks.
Yeah, so 25 hearts is what we love you with. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.
Sunrise under Gotham, Crime Alley is a rich boy's tomb. scarecrows frighten